How about if somebody's looking to play rhythm? Like, because obviously we use slide a lot for soloing.
Mm-hmm.
How would you use it in a rhythm sense? Like, do you think of chords or how do you do stuff like that?
So one of the tricky things is when you're playing in standard tuning is it's still in standard tuning. So if you're playing across the neck, your contact point is going to be pretty much straight. Right. So if you play right across the neck, it's going to be in the same tuning. If you're in standard E, it's not necessarily going to sound. It's going to sound like that.
Right, exactly.
Whereas if you're playing in like open E, it's tuned already to
an E chord sound.
So you can take advantage of that. Some people call it cheating. I don't. But with this, what I like to do is focus on thirds. So if I'm playing with a band and they're like, okay, we're going to play something in A, what I'll do is I'll just kind of approach into that note and get up to where my A is. So you've got A and C sharp. So I'll just play the root and the third, and then let the bass player usually pop between the 1 and the 5, and they're kind of filling out their space. So I don't want to get in his way.
Right.
So for me, I'll just kind of go, and just kind of lay pads down, which can sound really cool, especially if you've already got if your singer plays guitar, or if you're playing along and you've got a rhythm section. Having a little space can help kind of fill things out a little bit.
Sure, of course.
Because you can't necessarily. Some guys will put their slide in their pocket and then they'll just play. They'll still be able to do their normal rhythm chords and stuff like that. If you're playing with a slide on your finger, you kind of have to make some adjustments. So if you're going to play with it on the third finger, you can still get to seventh chords. You just kind of have to.
Oh, sure. Right.
That kind of thing. If you play on your pinky, it gives you a different kind of option. But maybe it'd be kind of hard to do like a G chord. You could probably do it.
Sure.
But this is a little easier for like playing scales along with slide.
Right.
Some guys, there's actually some contraptions you can get where you can stick the slide. It's a little clip right on the back of your headstock. So there's little quick throw kind of things, and I kind of want to get those because
I had a little spinny one.
Oh yeah,
it's
like
you
a
flip
ring.
it and then your finger works and then you flip it back around.
Yep. Yeah, my buddy. There's a guy in town here, great guitar player named Casey Connors, and he's got a tiny little one.
Yeah.
And it looks like a big kind of gaudy ring. I'm like, Casey, you don't wear rings. What are you doing? And he's like, no, it's a slide. He'll put it on. I was like, oh, he can actually play.
Yeah, right.
And he plays in standard tuning too, but it's just this tiny little chrome slide. And I was like, wow, all right, that's cool.
So do you explain then why somebody would wear it on one finger versus another finger and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially if you're seeing videos or old pictures of guys, some people, they a lot of times are teaching themselves. They're playing along with records and they're like, all right, I like that slide sound. So I'm gonna go get something that's like a slide. Right. Some people grab a beer bottle, something like that. If you're getting into which finger you're gonna use, there's certain concessions you're going to want to have to do. Like, are you going to play chords a lot? Are you going to, if you're playing just acoustic and you're playing on like a normal like dreadnought style acoustic, you maybe only have access to the 12th fret if you don't have a cutaway. If you're playing with your third finger, it might be kind of hard. You have to kind of kink your wrist a little bit in order to get up to the 12th fret and intonate it right. Whereas if you're playing with your pinky,
so do you switch fingers?
Me, I don't. I tried to get used to playing with my pinky, and it just never felt comfortable for me.
Sure.
And Derek Trucks is the guy that I kind of model myself after, or at least try to.
Sure.
And he plays with the third finger. For me, it's helpful with the dampening techniques. So you can kind of control the slide with your pinky, and then you use these fingers to. You can dampen the strings so it doesn't vibrate on the back end. It helps kind of quiet things down, especially if you're doing single note runs.
Right.
So for me, that's just one reason I like it. Some guys like Joe Walsh or Billy Gibbons, they'll play on their second finger, and there's really not a whole lot different. Just whatever feels good for you, and some of it depends maybe on the size of your hands too. If you've got smaller hands, maybe it's easier for you to balance or something like that.
Right.
Something to think about.
Right. Cool. So needless to say, this course obviously covers a ton of stuff, and that's what I really like about Rob's teaching style. is that it's very comprehensive. You know, the bottom line for me is if you're trying to teach somebody, it's not always just the obvious things of, you know, you play this lick and you do this. It's the things in between, you know, the things that every teacher doesn't talk about. And it's cool that you're doing so much of that in this course. So, you know, sometimes this is a hard question to answer, but what does your course cover? Like, what do you feel summarizes the course for a person?
Yeah, I think with this course, it's really end to end. You know, if you get this course, you're going to be able to understand how to set up your guitar. You know, what kind of decisions are you going to want to have to make? Which guitar are you going to play? If you've got a couple of guitars, maybe one of them is going to get closer to the sound that you want. You know, if you've got a big, heavy, solid body with humbuckers and you want a big, fat sound, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, right.
If you're doing something a little bit different with single coils, you may have to, you know, change some different things with your gear. I talk about that. Talk about how to hold the slide, you know, how to position it. Are you going to play a little slack? Are you going to try and keep it straight forward? Just different things to get the sound that you want. So you understand just the different things behind the technique that make it so unique, because it is quite a bit different than other guitar playing.
Right.
Just because you're having to really, you know, slide something around on the strings where normally you're trying to play right behind your frets.
Right.
And there's just some things that you kind of have to think about. And I try to lay that out as linear, end to end. Okay, you're going to start here. Let's just keep giving you a foundation and build you up and build you up.
Right.
So instead of just throwing you into the deep end right away,
Right.
it's, okay, let's just get started. Let's start making some sounds.
Sure.
How can we, you know, be able to just go. So you're just using just a couple of fingers. So this gives you a couple of different things to think about. How to hold your hand so that you can mute the strings. So you're using your thumb really to mute all these extra strings, and you're using these two fingers to isolate those two strings and go.
Sure.
And just kind of, okay, starting on the 3rd fret, sliding up to get that slide sound.
Right.
So it kind of just starts getting the motion together. All right. And then you can start sliding up the neck and kind of seeing, okay, how are these scales put together and how can I make melodies out of them? So,
Right,
you know, we
right.
start doing that. And then start kind of building licks and taking a lick that would maybe start off with 1 or 2 notes and then adding on some more notes and then adding on some more notes. So by the end of it, you've got a phrase that you can put together that's a lick.
Can you kind of show us what you
sure.
mean by that?
So like if you take something, if you're just going to go, so you're just kind of going. So you just got just a little quick pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can take it and bounce it back.
Sure.
So it kind of starts building around like different ways of approaching notes and showing you where the notes lay, so that you can say, okay, I've kind of got a little skeleton I can work. If I'm playing, everything I'm doing is in the key of A for this, and I do a lot of that on the DVD too.
Sure.
Or the lesson too, because with it, one thing with the key of A, especially when playing in slide, if you're playing in standard tuning, you can still play a blues and play the rhythm part too. So that's right. A lot of the DVD or the lesson is in the key of A, because a lot of times if you're listening to any classic rock tunes, a lot of them will be in the key of A.
Sure.
And it's nice because you can take advantage of your open strings.
Sure, sure.
And you can, especially if you're holding it with the 3rd finger, it gives you enough with your pinky so that you can still play rhythm along with it.
Right.
So you can kind of, and then when you start to do your slide licks, you. So you can kind of bounce between the two, and you're
Sure.
okay, I can hear the chords, and then.
Yeah, right. Very cool.
That's why I like to do a lot of stuff in the key of A.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it seems very, very methodical, and that's what I love. Are courses that are comprehensive, yet you get to the good stuff in a very short amount of time. That way, you can obviously start showing off, which is kind of important too.
That's why you're doing it, right?
So anyway, one last thing. What would you tell somebody? What's the most important thing you'd tell a practicing guitar player? What would you give them for advice?
Man, I mean, my theory with practice is it's not work.
Right.
It's a daily passion kind of thing.
Right.
And if some people they may like, oh, I gotta go practice guitar or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, if you can find that mentality of like, this is something I want to do, and you just incorporate it into your day. It's
Right.
just like brushing your teeth or putting on, tying your shoes. Those are just things you go about your day.
Right.
If you carve out, even if it's a small amount of time, 15, 20 minutes, where you can sit down, not do anything, don't look at the TV, don't look at your phone, anything
right.
like that. Just sit down and play. And having that time to just work on something and build on it and just keep building. Because if you put it down for, a couple of weeks, you might regress, you might forget some stuff.
Right.
Whereas if you're doing it every single day, it's just like
Right.
working a muscle,
Right.
You start lifting weights, you start getting a little swole,
Yep. And that's the most important thing, is you got to remember that if you do it every day, at some point you're going to start feeling the benefits. You're going to start feeling the productivity, and it makes you want to do it more, because all of a sudden the things that you couldn't do, now all of a sudden you're able to do them, and you get really excited about that because things are happening. There was a time in my life where I was absolutely positive that I just wasn't going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, I had a teacher that said to me once, he said that learning how to play isn't like climbing a hill. It's not like every day you're better than yesterday. You hit a plateau and it seems like you're not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you go, well, I guess I can do that.
Yep.
And it's those revelations for me that have always been huge. But they don't happen if you don't do it on a consistent basis. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel exactly the same way. There's some days I'm just like, man, I just can't quite get to this level. And then you just keep working, and all of a sudden when it happens, you go, yes.
Yeah,
little small victories,
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Rob. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank
so remember, Slide Guitar Secrets. You're going to want to check this out. I'm going to be checking it out. So Rob, he'll be available, through GuitarZoom. Obviously, you guys are going to want to check this out. If you have any questions, you got to remember that we are available. He's right in town with me. So when there's questions about stuff, we are able to answer stuff for you and make your journey easier. So take care, and we'll speak to you soon.